My entitled sister-in-law has over $300,000 in debt and constantly asks money from family members and friends just so she can live a lavish lifestyle. But everything got so much worse after my mother-in-law passed away, as my sister-in-law turned into an absolute monster, doing things to the family that none of us ever expected. Here's what happened. Okay, so for the sake of the story, I'm gonna call my sister-in-law by the name of Shirley. Shirley is not her real name. And trust me when I say this, she is a class act. So she has basically been taking out credit cards as well as loans from banks, friends, and family ever since she turned 16 years old. Because in her words, she didn't want to be a poor, low-class loser like her parents. Well, she has now run up about $300,000 in debt. And this is in a poor country, so it's even worse. She has at least 3 maxed out credit cards, as does her husband, and I'm honestly not even sure how many. She has borrowed untold thousands from her loser parents, as well as from other family members whom she has criticized endlessly for being low class in private. She borrowed several thousands from my husband several years ago, but he stayed on her to pay him back, even though it took a few years. When he gave her the loan, she said it was to pay off her house. She has a 5-bedroom villa in a very nice area of the city, but instead she put down payments on 2 brand new cars, even though both of her older ones were relatively new and working fine. Her daughter attends an exclusive private school and always has the latest tech. They even go on beach trips a few times a year. Her philosophy is really twisted. She says that she will pay the creditors off a bit at a time by borrowing money from friends and relatives, who are much easier to put off instead of drowning in massive debt. She thinks that she's a genius, that no one else can manage money like her, and she has poked fun at my now husband, and I prefer low-key living as opposed to having all the newest, flashiest things. But here's what makes her a truly terrible person. She basically bled her parents, especially her mom, completely dry of any money. Her parents, who are my in-laws, own their own home. They're not rich, but their pensions cover most of their needs, and my husband helps them out as well. My mother-in-law found out she had cancer a few years ago, and my husband wanted all 3 kids to pitch in and take her to the capital for treatment, and set her up in an Airbnb while she recovered. Shirley refused to contribute, saying that the state-run medical system was fine instead. She said that her husband is a doctor there, and he would oversee everything that was going on. My husband was enraged, but his mom agreed to it, so there was not much that he could do. After a grueling year, my mother-in-law was finally cancer-free. Shirley's husband did periodic checkups, would occasionally send her labs, and she remained in remission. Then, a year later, she began complaining of a pain in her back, and Shirley and her husband brushed it off for months, saying she just needed to rest more. Then, one day, suddenly my mother-in-law couldn't move her legs. After being rushed to the local hospital, the doctors found that she had a massive tumor in her spine that had essentially broken her back. And you know what? The same song and dance occurred again. My husband once again insisted on getting private care in the capital, with Shirley rejecting that outright. She said she would take care of her in her own home, as her husband had confirmed the cancer was too far advanced and that now she just needed hospice care. And while this did enrage my husband, my mother-in-law also agreed. Shirley suggested that they could hire a team of nurses, but then she requested that my husband pay for that because Shirley can't do it right now, but she will pay him back. So my mother-in-law went into hospice care at Shirley's house, and we were there as much as we could be, but we had a baby and we lived far away. Once while I was there, my mother-in-law pulls my husband aside and tells him that she's scared because Shirley has been pressuring her to sign some documents and the painkillers were fogging up her brain and she simply didn't understand. Shirley told us that they were just power of attorney documents to allow her to make emergency decisions. Now, we were uncomfortable, but since my mother-in-law was living there and Shirley's husband is a doctor, we thought it would be okay. Well, eventually my mother-in-law passed away, and the day of the funeral came around with Shirley and her family nowhere to be found. We called and called, but we got no answer. We asked one of the aunts about it, and she just rolled her eyes and told us what happened. Apparently, this aunt had been planning the funeral with Shirley and my father-in-law, and during the planning process, she discovered that Shirley had convinced my mother-in-law about a year ago, right before the doctors found the cancer, and while her doctor husband had been caring for her, to take out a life insurance policy on herself, with Shirley as the sole beneficiary. We would later find out that she somehow bribed a notary to fake the death certificate date, as well as the cause of death, so that she got more money. I'm not sure how that worked, but that's what I was told. In the country we were living in, pretty much anything is possible with a bit of cash. She had also convinced my in-laws to sign over ownership of the house to her, so she could could secure another large loan from the bank using the house as collateral. But the house was actually supposed to go to my husband and my brother-in-law. Well, my husband and brother-in-law get on the phone with Shirley and confront her. Shirley starts screaming at them, telling them their lives have been so much easier than hers, and that she has done so much more for their parents than they have, as well as telling a whole bunch of lies about how my husband has always been a freeloader. But for the record, he has worked since he was 13 years old, he paid for his own education, and has a higher level job after working like a dog for 2 decades. She said everyone has always taken advantage of her, and that's why she is in so much debt, because in her eyes, everyone else is at fault except for her. We did go no contact after that, but my brother-in-law and father-in-law have gotten sucked back into her orbit again, and both have loaned her money. She has even been trying to get my father-in-law to let her sell the house for him, and then she'll give him an allowance every month out of the money from the sale, and he can live with her. Meanwhile, my husband and I moved to the United States, and we are enjoying our debt-free lives, ever thankful that we live far away from my sister-in-law. Wow, that sister-in-law seriously has worked the system from the very beginning. Like, that is insane to me that you would rack up $300,000 in debt. And this is all stuff that would have been preventable. It doesn't even sound like reasonable debt that you would have from, like, I don't know, having a house or a car or something like that. This all sounds like frivolous spending from someone who is really irresponsible and clearly super entitled. So with all things considered, I'm so glad you're away from this lady, because she is incredibly toxic. And anyone at this point who gives her money or loans her anything might as well kiss that goodbye, because based on her history, there is no way she's ever gonna pay anybody back. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My mom has an emotional breakdown every time I tell her that I'm moving out, and despite the fact that I'm going to another city to pursue my job of choice, she is still absolutely furious that I'm leaving, demanding that I take a lower paying job in my hometown just so I could still be around. Here's what happened. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I just finished college with my BSN, and I got my registered nurse license earlier this week. I've been offered a position in my desired specialty the next state over, about 5 hours away. The city is double the size of my current town and has much higher crime rates, but it's a good opportunity, and I'm excited about starting a new adventure. But the only people who are not excited for me are my family, especially my mom. She is just so angry at the prospect of me taking this job. She's mad that the pay is lower than my other opportunities, that there's no sign-on bonus, and that I will know no one in my new city. She ignores me when I tell her that new grad positions in my specialty are few and far between, that I'm not signing a contract that locks me to the hospital, that the hospital has excellent ratios, and that I'm 22 years old with no significant other or children tying me to my hometown, that I have no significant asset to lose if I do fail, thus making this the best time to take a chance. She is just so focused on being angry. She keeps making passive-aggressive comments about how I feel that she didn't support me enough through college, which isn't true. I paid my way through my bachelor's degree on my own, and she hates me saying that. I know she'll be hurt if I don't involve her in the moving process, but when I do try to involve her, such as showing her apartment or looking at furniture, she just blows up and accuses me of shoving it in her face. Last night, she tried once again to convince me to apply to other jobs closer to home after she asked what my plan was, and I gave her the same answer I've been giving for over a month. When I pointed out that these jobs were at hospitals with poor ratios and bad reputations, and not in my desired specialty, she blew up again, told me that she's not arguing with me, and then went to bed for the night. I'm just so exhausted, and beyond that, I'm hurt. Her neighbor's 19-year-old son just left for the Air Force, and she talks frequently about how awful his stepmother is for being mad about him leaving when he's such a good and sweet kid. I've spent my entire life trying to please her. I didn't even apply to schools outside of my hometown when I graduated high school. I paid for my degree so my parents didn't have to shoulder the burden. I worked 2 to 3 jobs around the clock since I was 18 years old, despite being a full-time student. I've never tried any illegal substances. I barely drink. I've broken up with partners to make her happy, I'm also very involved in helping with my chronically ill younger sister and my delinquent little brother. I'm in a constant anxious state of trying my best, if that makes sense, and it's a constant march towards an unattainable goal. And yet in her eyes, I'm not good enough, nor responsible enough, nor ready to try to be independent. Look, I love my mom and my family. I feel so guilty about leaving that it's literally eating me up inside. I'm supposed to move in a week from today, and I have no idea how to leave on good terms between us. She keeps giving me bills for various things, and I'm worried that she's going to charge me more once I'm actually gone, and my savings will be totally depleted. And right now, I'm just so exhausted, and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, your mom's being toxic for a few reasons, but one of the bigger reasons is the fact that she only wants you to stick around because she doesn't want to take care of your sister and your brother, or even take care of the bills around the house or stuff like that. In my opinion, I think you've worked very hard for your nursing degree, and for your mom to be like, no, stay with us, take care of us instead, or even try to hold you back in some kind of way just to make herself happy, that is honestly such a criminal thing for her to do, and if I were in your shoes, I would ignore her completely, because you literally have your whole career ahead of you. You're about to have a nursing job in your specialty, and this is in a city that's away from your hometown. And sure, you feel guilty about leaving your hometown and it's eating you up inside, and I totally understand where you're coming from, but I really think that this job is a huge opportunity for you, and to turn it down just to make your mom happy once again in your life would be a massive mistake. So hopefully that transition can go well, and hopefully she doesn't try to shove all these bills on your back, because frankly, she's only doing that because you're leaving. And honestly, I think you really need to start stepping up for yourself and move forward with your career. I can no longer take my boyfriend's incompetence, especially when it comes to keeping the house clean. And at this point, I'm so grossed out and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years and living together for 3 months. He is so loving, caring, sweet, kind, and just about everything. He has helped me through so much in the short time that we've been together, and I can always rely on him to be my support system. However, he is so messy, and I really mean incredibly messy, and that's not for lack of trying. I do most of the cooking, so he does most of the cleaning, and by that, I mean tidying. He never does any deep cleans like properly sweeping everything, wiping things down, or stuff like that. When we first met, he didn't realize you had to go back and forth hoovering, or that you have to lift things up to vacuum under them, or lift things up to wipe down underneath them. But I will say I have taught him how to clean. I have shown him how to do it, I've written him step-by-step instructions on what to do, and this hasn't happened once or twice. This has happened numerous times. Today, I came home after staying at my parents' house, and I was gone for a month and asked him to clean the house. Well, he said that he did, and he was really excited to show me. I went to the bedroom, and immediately there was filth everywhere. Food packages, clumps of hair, cans, bits of general waste, and loads of dust. I go to the bathroom, and his beard hair is all over the floor, but he shaved it 2 days ago. My pads are still in the bin, and it stinks. The whole carpet is filthy, and I feel so uncomfortable even walking on it with my bare feet. I immediately tidy up as much as I can, and I start crying. I was on an 8-hour coach trip and came back to this. The whole time I'm tidying, he's telling me to stop, saying he washed the dishes and all this other stuff, and he thought that he did a really good job. At night, he asked me why I was in a mood, and I admitted that I expected things to be clean, and him being so excited to show me a clean house that is actually filthy has made me realize I expect too much from him, and that I cannot live the rest of my life like this. He then went off in a mood and went to bed. Worse yet, the bed is lumpy because there's lumps of God knows what under the sheets that he obviously didn't brush off before putting clean sheets on. It's making me feel so dirty and gross, but I don't want to sleep on the sofa and make things worse. Honestly, I can't live my life like this. I feel disgusted, filthy, and stressed, but besides all of that, my boyfriend is wonderful, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, there's no way on earth I would ever want to still live with that guy. If I was in your shoes and I knew for a fact that my bed wasn't clean, let alone the rest of the house, I would immediately be like, okay, I gotta find a place to live. But also, this is a very good look into who you would be living with if you did decide to get married in the future. Because what you're describing is honestly unacceptable, and I can't honestly think of a good reason for anyone to be this messy. Am I the jerk for cooking dinner for my girlfriend instead of taking her out like I promised earlier in the week? Because right now she is very angry with me, and at this point I don't know what to do. So my girlfriend and I have been dating for a little over a year. We're both in college, and to be honest, I don't feel like going out most of the time. So I almost always suggest my girlfriend to stay in my apartment and to order something or to cook something instead of going out. I often don't want to go to parties or such with her, which annoys her a lot. The other day, my girlfriend mentioned a new sushi restaurant in our town and asked if we could go. Originally, I agreed. I said that we could go on Friday. However, I didn't feel like going out last night. So instead, I cooked dinner for us, and when she came to my apartment, I told her that we could leave it for another day and eat at home. Well, when I did that, she was annoyed and said that I always do the same thing, but I told her to chill out because we could go on another day. I mean, it's not like the restaurant's going anywhere. I cooked carbonara pasta for dinner, but my girlfriend said that she won't have it because she wants fish and not pasta. I told her, okay, we can order sushi if you want, and I just rolled my eyes, which made her go off on me, telling me that she feels like I want to hide her, as if I'm embarrassed by her or something like that, even though that's definitely not the truth at all. She knows my family and friends, and I make all the time that I can to spend time with her, and I'm certainly not ashamed of her because why would I be? I'm just not an outgoing person, and she knows it. She had said something similar a few months ago because I didn't post enough about her on social media. I also got upset over her comment, and I told her that she can leave if she doesn't like how I am, but then she got her stuff and she did in fact leave. I sent her a message today so that we could talk and try and make up, and she told me to give her 1 or 2 days to think about it. Now, I don't think that what I did was that awful, but seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, to be completely honest with you, yes, I do think you're the jerk here. You promised your girlfriend you're gonna go out and get sushi on Friday night, and instead of talking to her and being like, hey, let's have different plans or something like that, you decided to make the plans for her and be like, psych, we're gonna eat some pasta here at my house. Like, what are you doing? That's like super rude. You just completely ignored all of your plans and said, okay, we're gonna do it my way because I don't like going out. Like, if you're gonna make plans, at least have the decency of following through instead of changing them suddenly all because you don't like them. Like, that's the worst part about it, because I can completely understand where your girlfriend's coming from. She's tired of eating at your house, and you know what? She's right. It is the same thing over and over again. And the fact that you don't see that, or maybe you don't want to see that, is like really toxic in my opinion. So yes, I think you are the jerk, and I think your girlfriend has every right to be upset with you, especially for changing plans without talking to her first. Am I the jerk for telling my parents and my sisters that I don't need them to name my baby, and that I will never use any of the names that they suggest? Because right now, it's all getting super obnoxious, and at this point, I don't know what to do. I'm an 18-year-old female, and my boyfriend and I are expecting a baby. His family is so kind and supportive, but most of mine are not, with the exception of my 2 brothers who are great. The rest of my family say we are too young and have second-guessed all of my choices, from researching formula because I won't be breastfeeding, to the names that we have looked at. I moved in with my boyfriend a couple of months ago, which was a little earlier than we had planned, but we both wanted to get away from the comments. We have started buying stuff, and we know we're having a little boy. My parents and sisters originally told me that when they heard I was having a boy, that they think that I should name him after George, who's my great-grandfather. I told them we weren't looking for name suggestions and asked them to not push the issue. Then they asked what the name we were thinking of was, and I said we weren't going to share until he's here. Well, that wasn't taken very well, and they decided that we must have an awful name lined up, so they made a list of a bunch of names that they thought would be good. But I told them again that we did not want or need names suggested because we had our own ideas. I ignored them the next couple of times that they mentioned names, but then Christmas Day, they had a field day because my oldest sister grabbed my phone while I was in the bathroom and she searched for a list that I had on there. We were at my older brother's house, by the way, and she showed my mom and my other sisters, and she tried to involve my brothers, but my oldest brother told them that they can leave if they wanted to start stuff at my house in front of his family. But they did end up starting some drama and asked me what in the world I was thinking and demanded that I choose one of their names. The names that set them off were Sloan and Finley. They were the 2 I had on a list on my phone, and my brother did have to kick them out in the end because they said I could not ruin my son with a name like that, and then said my boyfriend was a bad influence because he wants another dumb name like Jackson. I told them I was just as much a part of the naming of mine and my boyfriend's baby, and just because the names aren't to their taste doesn't mean they have the right to insult us. I had to block them on my phone since Christmas because they were going crazy blowing up my phone. But then I got an email with an even longer list of names 2 days ago. So I unblocked them temporarily, and in a family group chat, I told them that this is my baby and I do not need or want them to name him for me, and I will not entertain a single name on their list, and because they've annoyed me, I will never use any one of those names ever. I blocked them again, and my brother showed me screenshots screenshots of where they were going off. They find it funny, but I know for a fact they had to mute the chat. I feel kind of bad now, and my parents and sisters are calling me out. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? You are not the jerk here. Your family is so intrusive. Like seriously, your sisters went into your phone to find the list of names you had for your son? Like that is so invasive, it's not even funny. Like they are really determined to make sure you pick a name that they like. And I'm kind of convinced based on the way your sisters have been acting that you could have had any name on that list and it still would not have been good enough for any of those people. And it's not like you didn't make your wishes known. These people were well aware that you did not like any of these stupid names and you didn't want this constant chatter about what you're naming your son. Because you 100% have this right. This is between you and your boyfriend. And the rest of these people are literally just getting in the way. Like they're all interjecting with their weird opinion about what you should and shouldn't do. And they're only doing this to you, by the way, because you're 18 years old. And they still feel some kind of ownership over what you can and cannot do. So no, of course you're not the jerk. Your family is being super intrusive. And I know if I was in your shoes, I definitely would have blocked them as well. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.